All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got week number 4, Thursday night football to dive into in today's video. We're going to be going through this game. It is the Giants taking on the Dallas Cowboys here. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like some player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of this video. That is where all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, all of my final plays will live right at the top of the comment section. In terms of how we did last week in the NFL, week number 3, we'll take a nice little cha-ching. We profit on Thursday night, we profit on Sunday night, and then Monday Night Football, we go 6-1, sweeping that Buffalo and Jags game, then going 2-1 in that Cincinnati and Washington game. So very good week number 3 for us. I don't know when our first negative week, who knows, maybe it's this week, when our first negative week in the NFL will come, but as of right now, we are cruising, we are finding good spots, and hitting some winners. But as always, guys, you can fade me. All of my final plays are going to be in the pinned comment like I mentioned. Let's jump into this game. First, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You guys have been super supportive in the NFL season so far. Just 3 weeks in, you guys have been absolutely electric. So let's keep that going. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. We got the Giants taking on the Cowboys. Right now, Giants, now this line has moved all over the place, but right now at the time of recording, Giants getting 5.5 points here at home. The total sitting 45 right now. I've seen 45.5, I've seen 44.5. Like I said, these lines have been all over the place. But let's start with, I guess, some of the good, or where the advantage could be if you are liking the Giants tonight. So realistically, it's going to come down to the run game. Dallas has not been very good against the run all season long, whether you're looking at it from a yards per game, dead last. Whether you're looking at it from a rush defense DVOA ranking, dead last. And Devin Singletary, RB1 for the Giants, has not been bad whatsoever. The only really bad game that he's had was against week 1 Minnesota, and in which Minnesota's proven to be a very good run defense, right? Top 10, top 5 type of run defense from a DVOA perspective. But then in week number 2, he went for 16 carries, 95 yards, and a tutty. Week number 3, decent game, kind of middle of the pack against Cleveland, but still a better game than he had in week 1. So Devin Singletary kind of quietly looking like he could be an X factor in this game. We've seen sort of what other running backs have done to Dallas so far. Alvin Kamara, 115 and 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 151 and 2 touchdowns. So 5 touchdowns between the two of them. Week number 1, that's just kind of the Cleveland Browns, right? Like, they're not all that great. They didn't do that much on the ground. But nonetheless, you put 2 good running backs against them, and they went off for 200 and nearly 70 yards and 5 touchdowns combined there. So Devin Singletary, I think, could be an X factor, and just the run game overall. Like, if you want to control a game, keep it on the ground against this Cowboys defense. Now, if you're liking sort of Dallas and where their edge and, I guess you could say, advantage in this spot comes in, similar to what we're talking about with New York, like, the run game should be pretty open for them as well. New York has struggled against the run. We saw out of the first 3 weeks, some running backs have success. Aaron Jones, week number 1, 94 yards, 1 touchdown. We saw Brian Robinson go for 100 plus yards. I think it was like 130 actually. Last week against Cleveland, they couldn't put anything together, but we kind of already mentioned that, right? We have a common opponent here. Cleveland's run game isn't all that special. Jerome Ford has some juice. Nick Chubb should be coming back, but overall, we see both teams have bad run defenses, and there's one outlier here that Cleveland just hasn't really stepped up. So I'm willing to forego Cleveland for both of them and kind of pin the point here that both of these two teams struggle on the ground. The catch here, though, with Dallas, and we'll get to our lean in just a second, but sort of the unfortunate news, if you do like Dallas, or if I like Dallas, is the fact that they've been passing it so much. Second most in terms of pass percentage in the league, 68% of the time this season, because their run game has not been great. They have Ezekiel Elliott, they have Rico Dowdle out there, like back there, they're not really locked in terms of getting the ball moving on the ground. So yes, New York's run defense has struggled, but does the Cowboys team even have the juice or the personnel to be able to go out there and capitalize? I'm not exactly all that sure. But what I do think is a glaring, and I mean glaring, and I think that this game could come down to it, a glaring advantage for the Cowboys is their third down conversion right here. So in terms of just through 3 weeks, obviously a smallish sample size, everything we talk about is 3 weeks. This is a top 10 offensive converting on third down team in Dallas. Yes, they've dropped a few games, haven't looked all that great. They had that bad one against New Orleans. They kind of came back against Baltimore, but if you watch that game, Baltimore is leading the whole way, right? But third downs, they're staying on the field offensively, converting on third downs, and you're looking at a Giants team that cannot seem to get off the field on third downs. From a defensive perspective here, third down conversion, They are in the bottom third of the league. So if this game has some big plays and must-make yardages and that type of things, all of a sudden, advantage to the Cowboys for sure. And I think that that's sort of the thing that puts it over the edge for me. 5.5 points inside a touchdown doesn't seem like it's all that much for a Cowboys team to cover, and just given the fact that obviously we have a Cowboys team that has struggled 2 weeks in a row, maybe they started to find something towards the end of last week, right? I think that this is just a good spot for the Cowboys. So my lean on the spread is going to be Cowboys minus 5.5. If I were to record this video an hour ago, we could have got them at 4.5, but who knows by the time we actually lock it in. Again, keep an eye on the pinned comment, but we're leaning Cowboys here minus the points. This sets up perfectly for a Dak Prescott sort of rebound type of a game. He's lost 2 straight games in Dallas. Yes, we're in New York now, but overall still, I don't think this Dallas team's going to lose 3 games in a row, especially against a New York team in which they have just dog walked for the last, 5 years. 9-1 straight up is Dallas, 7-3 against the spread against this Giants team in their last 10. The over's also hitting 7. We'll talk about that in just a second. 7 in their last 10. This Dallas team has definitely had control of this, and especially Dak Prescott over Daniel Jones as well. So a bounce back spot for Dallas here. I think that Dak Prescott gets it going. The offense looks good, and potentially we'll talk about some player props in a second, but potentially their run game, or at least their running backs, can kind of capitalize in a weakness here for the Giants. So yes, I think that Devin Singletary can have a good game. I think that that's going to be the path to a potential Giants win or cover. I just don't think it's enough to get me to the Giants side. So give me the Cowboys here minus the 5 points. Minus the 5.5, 4.5, wherever this ends up, that's my lean. But obviously we want to kind of massage those numbers, get into the best numbers possible. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if or what we roll with as a final play. Now, in terms of a total, I originally wanted to lean towards the under because, again, my sort of thesis on this game was Devin Singletary, running back, could have a good game. New York Giants, bad against running back, so maybe Dowdle or Ezekiel Elliott could have a good game, right? But then looking at the history and even looking at the pace that Dallas runs with here, I actually am leaning towards that over 45 right now. So yes, we could see a run game and everything like that, but just because they're running the ball a lot doesn't necessarily mean that we have a slow scoring game or a low scoring game and a slow paced game, because these 2 run defenses shouldn't be able to stop those guys, right? So yes, the clock will run, but we could see some chunk plays. So I'm going to lean towards the over here. Dallas, number 2 in pass plays, like I already mentioned, 60% of their plays are passes. They're also 3-0 to the over this year. I think that they kind of control this game, hence why I lean them on the spread as well. And then one little nugget that I think helps this overplay: they are the fastest team by a decent margin in terms of seconds per snap offensively this season. So that's something to note too. I know I mentioned in last week's video, the pace of play and whatnot in the NFL isn't always the same. It's not like basketball or anything like that. But it doesn't hurt to see that they are offensively the fastest per play team in the NFL, right? Or per snap team in the NFL. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the over in this spot. We've seen, at least when these 2 teams play together, now Daniel Jones, I believe, got injured in one of these games. And then he came in as Eli's backup in one of them way back. So 6 games, if my math is correct here, of Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones appearing in the exact same game. 5-1 to the over there. So I like the over 45. I'd also consider a Dallas team total over 23.5. I'd love that number to be maybe 20, 1.5. Just something a little bit lower, something more desirable. But overall, I could see a bounce back spot from Dallas here. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Dallas minus the points as well as the over, and then a slight lean towards Dallas team total as well. Now let's get into some player props. Before we do, I want to talk to you guys about an awesome player prop site, Underdog. If you guys have not checked out Underdog yet, you are absolutely under a rock. No pun intended with the under, but you're literally under a rock and missing out on one of the most fun ways to play and make picks on the NFL. All you have to do is combine 2 or more player props into a slip. The more you win, the more you get paid out, and they have a great deal for you this week. For this game, new customers are going to get a Dak Prescott 0.5 total yard square, and then all users, you can use it on Sunday, Patrick Mahomes 0.5 total yards. So that is 2 free squares there. They've been discounting a bunch of players as well, but 2 free squares that we know about right now, and you're going to get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus. So go check out Underdog, guys. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. It's also in the description, but the pinned comment is the easiest way to get it. Just go over there, click that pinned comment link, and it's going to get you these squares. It's going to apply the code. It's going to get you that up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus as well. Go check out Underdog, guys. That link, again, is in the pinned comment. But what do you say we jump into a couple player prop spots that we're liking as of right now? So the first one we're going to be looking at here is, I kind of already mentioned it, Devin Singletary. Now, I'm not sold totally on his longest rush over 14.5. We've seen a few running backs already do that against the Cowboys. Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. Jerome Ford didn't in week number 1. He came close, but Deshaun Watson actually did. So they've had at least one person rush for longer than 14.5 runs. I like his over rushing yards. I don't mind his attempts or his longest rush either. But in terms of rushing yards as well as his attempts, my one issue and concern would be the idea that, say they do have to throw the ball a lot, say Dallas does get out to a big lead, all of a sudden his rushing yards, we don't have the volume to go out there and get that. Same thing with his rushing attempts at 14.5 for plus money. But if you think it's going to be a close enough game, I don't mind either of those, especially this 15 carries for plus money. He's done it in 2 straight games. Obviously, close game they win, but you can see when they're getting blown out, he only had 10 carries. So that kind of worries me as well, just as we've seen from his rushing yards. But in terms of his longest rush, he's been looking good the last 2 weeks, and you don't need the volume to do this. Based on a Swiss cheese defense against the run like Dallas, you can see here defensively, they're rushing yards overall 32nd, right? Even 28th yards per play. Like, this is a spot in which he could have this on one run and he doesn't need the value. So Devin Singletary over 14.5 for his longest rush I like, but just know I'm not minding his rushing yards. I don't mind his rush attempts. I also don't mind his TDs. He's done it in 2 straight games here in this season, so 2 straight games. And in terms of who's getting the workload, so rushing attempts in the red zone, he's just behind Danny Dingleberry. So it's like he's right there as well, So I don't mind Devin Singletary some way, shape, or form. Make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we ultimately roll with, but he's definitely a guy, like I already called him, an X factor in this game. Now, if you guys want access to the tool that we're using right now, this is Outlier. It is by far and away, and I mean by far and away, the best player prop research tool out there. You can use it for spreads and totals and parlays and everything like that, but for player props, this thing is absolutely goated, and we have a 7-day, yes, an entire week free trial link in the pinned comment, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. Again, that link is in the pinned comment. 7 days free. After that, you're probably like, oh, well, what's the gotcha here, huh? Is it $300 a month? Nope, $19.99, and that's if you pay monthly per month. So it's like a super, super well-priced tool, and you have so much in here. They do have a premium version as well, in which you get EV, boost, arbitrage, and middling. But if you just want this props, or you just want to look at it from a game perspective, Underdog, $19.99 after a 7-day trial. Go check it out, guys. Link in the pinned comment. Now let's get into sort of our flyer play here, and I'm loving this one. Plus 148 on FanDuel. I might jump at this one really, really soon, so you can expect this in the pinned comment. I like Rico Dowdle, the RB, I'm going to say it RB1 for Dallas. He's out snapping in terms of snaps played Ezekiel Elliott in the last week by far. I think he had like 30% more snaps. Zeke only played like 19, right? Obviously a lot of factors there, but Rico Dowdle over 2.5 receptions. Now, yes, can he go and rush a lot for 39? Sure, but this line has now skyrocketed. I don't exactly love that. Could he go out there and rush for a TD for plus 215? Sure. Could his long rush hit? Yes, but what I like is the idea that we're getting plus 148 for him to catch 3 balls in a spot in which, if we look at this, right, since he started to play more and more plays, he's had 5 targets. So 5 targets, he can catch 60% like he did last week and cash for plus 148. You could see the Giants decent against the running back from a receptions perspective, but what I like is Dallas 68% pass rate, right? So if they're ahead and if they're moving this thing down and obviously like giving, New York trouble and they're ahead and they kind of want to pound the rock, this is not a Dallas team that has the personnel to pound the rock. What they can do is kind of some dump off passes and keep the clock going and chew clock. Rico Dowdle is your guy for that. And what I'll also say is, if there's one thing you could say about this Giants defense, you could see it down here, right? QB hits 3rd, sacks tied for 2nd, tackles for loss 6th, middle of the pack QB hurries. Like, this is a team that can get after the quarterback. Where's Dak Prescott going to go if he gets Burns in his face or Lawrence in his face and that type of thing, right? He's going to check it down to his back that is scatting out. So Rico Dowdle over 2.5 receptions for plus 148 right now. Another cool thing about Outlier, say we wanted to place this, we could scan it with our phone, or I could say continue in browser. It's literally going to place it if I was logged in, place it in my FanDuel slip. We don't even have to go digging for it, and you can bet right here, right now. So it's really, really cool. Again, go check out Outlier. But guys, Rico Dowdle over 2.5 receptions. That's one of my favorite plays on the board. Obviously, it's a plus 148 play, so I'm not telling you it's a lock, but I think that is more of a 50-50 spot, and we're getting paid nearly plus 150 for it overall. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for at least our leans as of right now. As always, keep an eye on the pinned comment, one, to see what we roll with if you do want to fade me, or if you want to ride with me, right, what we actually finalize ourselves, and two, to see if we add anything in there. They may be stuff that comes up closer to game time that we like or want to throw in, or something that I didn't think of, or something that, you know, someone told me about, or I saw it in the comments, that type of thing. So make sure to keep an eye on that pinned comment. And obviously, it goes without saying, drop your best bets in the comments, guys. We are helping each other out in this game. We're trying to win some money here. Obviously, it's sports betting, so it's tough to do. Don't bet more than you can lose, that type of thing. But definitely let the people know what you are rolling with in the comments. And one last thing before I close out here, we do have our week 4 against the spread. It's just a Sunday slate, so don't worry about rushing for this game or the Monday night game. But our week 4 against the spread pick'em, $10 entry, pays 5 places out of 15 people. These things fill up fast. So if you do want to join it, click the link in the pinned comment. You're going to have multiple links in the pinned comment there. You'll have underdog, outlier, and this week 4 against the spread pick'em. Go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, everything is in the pinned comment. That is your Bible for this. So go ahead and check it out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.